Matt Bernier with the Stronach 5 sequence for Friday, December the 14th. 2 races from Laurel Park, 3 from Gulfstream Park. Those of you unfamiliar, this is a pick 5 sequence across the Stronach family of racetracks. $1 base bet, 12% takeout. If this thing is not hit, the entire pool carries on over to the following Friday sequence. This one, I think, is a bear. I think there's a real chance that it could end up carrying over, as I have in the past. I'm not going to give you tickets. I'm not going to give you picks. I'm going to throw some horses out there. Consider them. Don't consider them. That's your prerogative as the handicapper. We'll kick things off with leg A, race number 8 at Laurel Park. $5,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime claiming event. I'm going to look at 3 horses, the 5, the 9, and the 11 horse. The 5 is Swing Step. Now, this horse might be a little bit slow on paper, but I like the fact that Catherine Voss puts the blinkers on. This one needs a little bit of early speed. Unfortunately, it's just had way too much to do. I know the recent races since coming off of that long layoff have left something to be desired, but from a speed figure standpoint, this one actually fits in this race relatively well. The 9 horse is Jonathan McD. Jonathan McD is a horse that I have a trip note all the way back in December of 2017 down at Tampa Bay. Downs thought he ran very well, steadied in behind horses. Trip didn't work out, but I thought he would have threatened had he gotten through. Then he's gone until August, and that shows up in a synthetic race at Arlington Park. Doesn't run very well. Gone for another month, shows up, runs in a race, maiden $5,000 claimer, wins by 7 lengths, gets claimed that day. Comes back at a level for Wayne Potts, way too tough. Didn't really show too much. Now drops down to this level. I think this horse is interesting at 8-1 on the morning line. The 9, Jonathan McD. And the most likely winner of this entire race, I think, is the 11, Gorbachev. This is a horse that Kieran McGee has claimed most recently for $10,000. Drops him in for 5. Owned it and trained by McGee. I think this one makes plenty of sense from a speed figure standpoint, from a tactical ability standpoint. Going to break from the outside, but guess what? At Laurel, outside is not necessarily a bad thing. Those are the 3 that I would be most interested in taking a look at, the 5, the 9, and the 11. Move on to the second race of this sequence. We go down to Gulfstream for their 8th race. This is a maiden $25,000 claimer on the grass, 5 furlong turf dash. Again, you can go many different ways in here. There's no slam dunk. I'm looking at 6, 11, and 12 in here. 6 is a first-time starter for Dane Kabisky. I just find it interesting that this one's going to come out and debut. Amicia Jaramillo aboard. This horse is named Wallet, a 3-year-old by Currency Swap. I do find it interesting that Jaramillo and Kabisky for the year, they team up about 33%, a positive ROI, and about $2.50. It's not so much that there's a ton in this pedigree that screams that this is what this one wants to do, but I'm not enamored with some of the other races that we've seen from some of the proven commodities in this spot. I would certainly consider using that horse at what should be a square price. The 11, Grandma's Favorite, Wesley Ward, sprinting, turf, kind of, you know what you're going to get here. Don't like the pattern that this one is going the wrong direction from a speed figure standpoint, but does get back down to Gulfstream Park, where 3 starts back, albeit nearly a year ago, did run one of the better races. That was a 69 buyer. Now we're in for the $25,000 level. I think this one could be a major player. And the number 12 in here, Macho Blue. Macho Blue is admittedly a little bit of a stab in here, but first time off the claim for these connections. This outfit, about 20%, over a $3 ROI first off the claim. Now all of a sudden we try turf for the first time. Crown of Thorns is off to a pretty good start with his turf runners. They're 6 for 34 overall, and you'll see that the top 3 finishers in that race that this horse ran in back in January, they were all next out winners. So perhaps Macho Blue is one to consider at a big price in here. Move on to the third leg, the 9th race at Laurel Park. You got a $5,000 non-winners of 3 lifetime race. 2 horses that I'd be looking at, the 4 and the 13. The 4 horse in here is Best Surprise. I think arguably the most likely winner in this race. Goes out for Scott Lake for the first time. Most recently ran in a non-winners of 3, the $14,000 level at Aqueduct, going 7/8 of a mile. Really, to me, that's the question with this horse. Is this distance really going to work? 5.5 furlongs, and you look and see some of the races that this one is running in past 7/8, 2 turns at a mile and a 16th on grass, a 1-turn mile. Is this short distance going to be a little bit too sharp for this horse? If you can get a race like you got 2 starts back up at Saratoga back in August the 10th, this horse is going to win. Question is, can this horse do that at 5.5 furlongs? If not this one, how about we go toward the outside with the number 13, Midnight Cry. Midnight Cry, second off of the claim, most recently broke through the N3L level. That was at 5,000. Now all of a sudden you're looking at it saying, okay, well, what are we going to do here? I understand that came over a good sealed surface, but this one has run well on a fast main track in the past. I think Midnight Cry is very interesting in here, and another likely contender at odds of 7-2. We move on to the fourth leg of this Stronach 5 sequence. The 9th race at Gulfstream Park, it's a one-turn mile, $6,250 non-winners of 3 lifetime claiming event. I'm going to be looking at the 2 and the 5. I think a lot of people will key in on the 2, Past the Butter. Past the Butter is getting significant class relief, dropping from a beaten $30,000 claiming race, and you see from a figure standpoint, 3, 4, and 5 starts back, all at the one-turn mile configuration. I shouldn't say that. 3 starts back was 2 turns at Gulfstream Park West. All of those races from a speed figure standpoint are fast enough to win. The question now becomes, are the connections just trying to cut bait and dump this horse for $6,250? Because it looks like you could be competitive in a lower level race, not necessarily at this low, but maybe this is the red flag saying, take me, take me. At the end of the day, this is the fastest horse in this race. I just don't know that I could put all my eggs into this one's basket. I think the 5 Overpromised is very interesting. This one goes out for Jorge Delgado. Perfect 2 for 2 as this video is being recorded down at Gulfstream Park at the championship meet. Blinkers go on. I think this is going to be an interesting spot here. This horse has run some competitive races in the past, and if you think that Delgado can get this one to move up, take a look at that raw number down there. First off the claim, 46%, nearly a $7 ROI. Gaffalione board. I'm certainly using some of the 5 Overpromised in here. So those would be the 2 horses I'd be most interested in the 9th race at Gulfstream, the 2 and the 5. If you're alive and you get to the 10th race at Gulfstream, I mean, it's an absolute scramble in my opinion. $25,000 maiden claiming race. I'd be looking at 4 horses. They're going 5/8 on the grass. The 2, the 6, the 8, and the 10. The 2 is the Pirates. Now the Pirates, you look at some of the things with the connections, this isn't necessarily their forte. First-time turf runners usually don't have too much there. I'm just intrigued by the pedigree. I understand you have Perfect Soul down on the bottom, and perhaps that means distance, but the factor, this is really what his horses like to do, about 13% with the first-time turf runners. I think this one's interesting at a little bit of a price, and again, this one just feeds into that idea, in my opinion, that this is a very, very difficult sequence, one that I'd be using at the very least as a backup. Another one that at the very least as a backup I'd be using is the 6, Wine at the Beach, going out for Alan Iwinski. This is a horse by Treasure Beach. Treasure Beach with more of a long-distance horse, but overall, his 2-year-olds are 7 for 64 on debut and 9 for 71 with the first-time turf runner. So there is a little bit there, and you see Leroy Desanimo down on the bottom. I think this one's interesting. You got Cici Lopez listed as the rider. The number 8, Knowledge, going out for Larry Pilati. From a pedigree standpoint, he's by Painter. I love the Painters on grass. I think ultimately that's what his babies are going to do. But the thing that you really want to take note of, look at who is listed to ride at 10-1. Rad Ortiz Jr. I know sometimes you can go down a rabbit hole and just start playing that game. I can't overlook that in a payoff leg of a sequence like this, where if you get 8, 9, 10-1 on a horse like this with a Rad aboard, perhaps there's a reason. I think the 8, Knowledge, is a little bit intriguing. And then the 10, Barbie's King. This one goes out for Eddie Broom. The City Zips, about 13% with the first-time turf runners. Was supposed to be on the grass in that most recent run at Gulfstream Park West. Got washed off, showed speed, and faded. Now I think this is probably what this one wants to do. Go short. Drop the hammer out of the gate and go try to take this field as far as possible. Barbie's King is 5-1. Another one in an absolute just war of a race at Gulfstream on Friday afternoon, the nightcap. Hopefully you can get through it. The Stronach 5, again, 5 races. It's a pick 5, $1 base bet, 12% takeout. The first race, leg A of Friday's Stronach 5 sequence, we kick things off at Laurel Park with their 8th race. Scheduled post time, 3:53 Eastern. Good luck.